Cheating ex-wife deported after divorce. Hello, true story. And I wanted to share my story with you. And trust me, it's crazy. Let me take you back to how this all started. I met my ex-wife in 2018 at a Walmart of all places. This was back when most Walmarts were still 24 hours, and I was one of those night owls who liked to get groceries late. I had just gotten out of work around 11:30 p.m., still wired up from a long shift, and decided to stop at Walmart before heading home. I was over in the electronics section looking at some external hard drives when I heard someone behind me muttering about how expensive everything in America is compared to back home. I turned around, and there she was. At first I thought I misheard her, but then I caught the accent. It was unmistakable. We were from the same place overseas. Now, let me explain something. When you're living in a foreign country on a student visa, working hard, trying to carve out a life for yourself, it feels like the universe is laughing at you most days. To randomly bump into someone from home at midnight in Walmart, that felt like fate. She looked at me, I looked at her, and within 5 minutes, we were talking like we'd known each other for years. She was funny, she was smart, and she understood the grind I was on because she was on it too. We both came here on student visas, trying to work our way up. She was doing IT support for a mid-sized company, and I was already deep in the trenches of cloud computing. I'll admit it, I was relieved. For the first time since I came to the US, I felt like I wasn't alone. We exchanged numbers, started texting constantly, and within 2 weeks we were inseparable. Late night Walmart runs turned into coffee dates, then dinners, then weekends together. By early 2019, we were officially a couple. Those first couple of years felt good. We were both pushing hard in our careers. I became one of 2 cloud architects at my company, which meant long hours, but I was building something solid. Meanwhile, she worked a regular 9 to 5 in an office full of men. I didn't think much of it back then because I trusted her, or at least I thought I did. We talked about marriage, and eventually we tied the knot. I thought I had finally found my person. We even bought a little house together. I took pride in that. Coming from where we did, owning a house in America felt like the dream. But little did I know, she was living a double life. Here's how I found out. It wasn't by accident, and it wasn't because she slipped up. It was because of my instincts. Around late 2020, her behavior started to change. She wasn't as affectionate. She would guard her phone like it contained nuclear codes. She'd stay late at work more often, and when I'd ask, she'd snap at me about not trusting her. I brushed it off at first. I thought, maybe she's stressed. Maybe she's just tired. But then I noticed patterns. She'd get dressed up for work more than usual. Makeup, perfume, outfits that weren't exactly office casual. My gut told me something was wrong. So one night, while she was in the shower, I looked through her tablet. I didn't want to, I hate snooping, but my instincts were screaming at me, and there it was. Messages, pictures, whole conversations with another man, and not just a fling. It had been going on for over a year. I remember sitting there, my hands shaking, reading the words she wrote to him, words she hadn't said to me in a long time. I felt like someone had punched me in the chest. The part that really broke me was finding out the guy was married too. This wasn't just her betraying me. This was her wrecking another man's home. But here's the thing. I didn't confront her. I didn't tell her I knew. I decided to play it smart. I quietly gathered all the evidence I needed. Screenshots, messages, timestamp proof. I talked to a lawyer. I planned my exit. And then I did what she least expected. I surprised her with divorce papers at her job. Picture this. She's sitting at her desk, smiling, laughing with her coworkers, and in walks a process server with an envelope. She opens it, and boom, divorce papers. Her face dropped like she saw a ghost. She called me within minutes, screaming, crying, demanding to know why I blindsided her. I didn't answer. I let the papers speak for themselves. At the same time, I reached out to the affair partner's wife. I felt she deserved to know. I sent her everything, screenshots, dates, the works. That man's life imploded overnight, and I can't say I feel bad about it. He made his choices. Now you'd think that would have been the end of it. Divorce papers served, affair exposed, done. Right? Wrong. That night, she came home furious, and instead of packing her stuff and leaving, she went full psycho. She busted out the living room windows with a brick. She kicked in the garage man door. She trashed the kitchen. And then the cherry on top, she squatted on my back patio and took a dump. I'm not exaggerating. She literally took a crap on the patio like some wild animal. And here's the kicker. It was all caught on my security cameras. Crystal clear footage. When we went to court, the judge didn't even hesitate. He ordered her to attend anger management. I'll tell you something, though. Thank God I had the sense to hide in the attic that night. If she had found me, who knows what she would have done. One thing I'll add here is that our careers played a role in all of this. I work longer hours because, as one of only 2 cloud architects at my company, the workload is massive. She, on the other hand, had it easy. She worked with a big team, mostly men, and she had all the time in the world to flirt, mess around, and build her little side relationship. Looking back, I can see the resentment in her. She didn't like that I was always busy. She wanted more attention. Instead of talking to me, she went to another man. After the divorce was finalized, I thought I was free. But no. On the day of the final hearing, outside the courthouse, she lost it. She screamed at me about not giving her alimony. She said I ruined her life. And then, in broad daylight, she got in her car, revved the engine, and ran me over. Yeah, you heard that right. She literally ran me over with her car. I ended up in the hospital with a busted leg and bruises all over. She ended up in handcuffs. She was arrested, charged, and fined. And here's the kicker. Because we were both here on visas, her record meant she was no longer eligible to stay in the U.S. She was deported back to our home country. And just like that, she was gone. Waking up in the hospital. After she ran me over outside the courthouse, I woke up in the hospital with a fractured leg, bruised ribs, and a neck brace. I'll never forget the cop sitting in the room with me, taking notes. He told me straight up, "You're lucky to be alive. If she had hit you a little harder, we'd be talking about attempted murder instead of aggravated assault with a vehicle." I remember lying there thinking, this is the woman I once thought was my soulmate. The same woman I met in Walmart in the middle of the night, laughing over how much American prices sucked. Just tried to kill me in broad daylight because I didn't want to pay her alimony. It was surreal. But here's the thing. I wasn't even angry at that point. I was numb, completely numb, because by then I had already learned the most gut-wrenching truth. She had been cheating on me for over a year, building another relationship while lying to my face. Once you process that betrayal, everything after it just feels like static. Still, the cops assured me they had more than enough evidence to prosecute. Between eyewitnesses at the courthouse, security cameras, and the damage to my body, she couldn't wiggle out of this one. She was booked into county jail right after she hit me. The judge set a bond, but her attitude in court didn't help. She screamed at the judge, called me every name under the sun, and at one point even told the bailiff to mind his own business. The judge had enough and slapped her with mandatory anger management, fines, and probation. But here's where it gets interesting. Because both of us were here on student visas that had transitioned into work permits, any criminal conviction could affect our immigration status. I had a clean record. She did not. Her lawyer tried to argue it down, saying she was emotional and didn't understand American culture of divorce. That was laughable. She'd been here just as long as me. She knew exactly what she was doing. The judge didn't buy it either. And with that, her deportation process kicked off. Now let me tell you about the affair partner. This guy, let's call him Daniel, was married with 2 kids. From what I gathered, his wife had been nothing but supportive of him. She worked part-time, took care of the kids, and trusted him. When I exposed the affair by sending her all the messages, pictures, and proof, she went nuclear. She kicked him out of the house, called his parents, and even messaged me to thank me for telling her. She said she suspected something was wrong, but didn't have proof until I handed it over. Daniel's life crumbled almost overnight. His wife filed for divorce, his kids refused to talk to him, and his company eventually caught wind of the drama. See, he and my ex worked together in the same office building. Once word got around, HR got involved. The company had a strict policy against inter-office relationships, especially when one or both parties were married. He was fired within a month. Just like that, career gone, reputation gone, family gone. I can't say I felt bad. He knew what he was doing. He wasn't some clueless victim. He pursued a married woman while being married himself. He was reckless, selfish, and thought he could get away with it. Meanwhile, my ex's deportation case was moving fast. Once her conviction was finalized, immigration got involved. They flagged her record, and within 6 months, she was scheduled for removal. The last time I saw her in person was in court. She looked rough, hair messy, eyes bloodshot, pacing back and forth like a caged animal. She tried to stare me down across the courtroom, but I didn't flinch. By then, she was just a stranger to me. When the judge confirmed the deportation, she screamed. She yelled at me, yelled at the judge, yelled at her own lawyer. She said I ruined her life, that she gave me the best years of her youth, and I threw her away like trash. I sat there thinking, lady, you gave your best years to another man while you were still married to me. They escorted her out of the courtroom in handcuffs. That was it. That was the moment she knew she wasn't just losing me. She was losing America, the life she built here, the house, the career, the so-called dream. She was sent back to our home country, broke, disgraced, and alone. People always ask me, Aziz, how did you handle all that? Truth is, it wasn't easy. I spent months in physical therapy for my leg. I spent even longer in therapy for my head. When someone betrays you that deeply and then literally tries to kill you, it leaves scars. But I refused to let her win. I poured myself into my career. Being one of only 2 cloud architects at my company meant I already had heavy responsibility, but now I leaned into it even harder. Work became my escape, my therapy, my distraction. I also got smarter about protecting myself. Cameras all around the house, legal documents in order, emergency plans ready. I wasn't about to be caught off guard again. Oh, and Daniel, his downfall didn't stop at losing his job and family. Word spread in our local community. People talk, and once they found out, he had destroyed not just his marriage, but mine as well. He was blacklisted socially. His wife sold the house, took the kids, and moved states away. From what I last heard, he's living in a small apartment, working a job that pays a fraction of what he used to earn, and drinking way too much. Karma hit him just as hard as it hit my ex. Funny how that works. Looking back, I can't believe how quickly my life flipped upside down. One minute I thought I had it all. A wife, a house, a career, stability. The next minute, I was crawling into my attic to hide from that same wife who was vandalizing my house and defecating on my patio. If you had told me in 2018, when I met her in that Walmart aisle, that this is where we'd end up, I would have laughed in your face. But here's the silver lining. I survived. I got out. And she's gone. Since all of this, I've started dating again, but slowly. I don't trust as easily now. I don't just take words at face value anymore. I watch actions. I listen to my gut. And you know what? I'm in a much better place mentally. The weight of her drama, her lies, her chaos, it's all gone. My house is peaceful. My career is thriving. My friends respect me more than ever. She, on the other hand, is back in our home country, working some low-paying job, living with her parents, and stewing in bitterness. But that's the thing about cheaters. They always think they're upgrading, but in the end, they downgrade themselves. I'll be honest, right after the divorce, I was wrecked. Not just physically, but mentally. My leg was still healing from when she ran me over. My ribs hurt when I coughed or laughed. I was taking more Advil than I should have been, but the real pain wasn't in my bones. It was in my head. I couldn't sleep. I'd wake up at 3 a.m. sweating, replaying everything in my mind. Her face, the betrayal, the courtrooms, the yelling, the crash of glass when she broke my windows. It was like my brain had a highlight reel of every horrible moment, and it liked to play it on loop when I was trying to rest. For a while, I lived like a ghost. Work, home, repeat. No music, no socializing, just silence. My house felt empty without her energy in it. Chaotic as it was still energy. Now it was just me, a half-healed body, and the hum of my servers in the spare bedroom. But slowly, little things started to pull me out of the fog. The best decision I made was signing up for therapy. At first, I thought it was unnecessary. I'm fine, I told myself. I'm strong. But the truth is, I wasn't fine. I was angry, paranoid, and broken. My therapist helped me unpack everything. We talked about my childhood, my cultural background, the pressure of being an immigrant, trying to make it in America, and how all of that shaped the way I handled relationships. We talked about why I ignored my instincts for so long, why I tolerated disrespect until it boiled over. One session that stuck with me was when my therapist said, "Aziz, your ex didn't break you. She revealed where your cracks already were. Now you get to seal them properly." That hit me hard, because she was right. I had cracks long before my ex-wife came along. My ex just poured salt into them. Once I was strong enough, I tackled the house. After she trashed it, the place felt haunted. Broken windows, a busted door, scratches on the walls, and of course the back patio, which I'll never forget for obvious reasons. I hired a crew to fix the damage, but I also put in my own sweat equity. I repainted every room. I replaced furniture. I put in new flooring in the living room. It was more than just fixing. It was reclaiming. I needed to erase her chaos and make the house mine again. By the time I was done, the place felt brand new, peaceful, quiet, mine. My career became my anchor. Being one of 2 cloud architects at my company meant I already had a mountain of responsibility. But after the divorce, I dove even deeper into it. I started working 12-hour days, not because I had to, but because it kept my mind occupied, and it paid off. Within a year, I was leading projects worth millions. I was the go-to guy for solving impossible problems. My boss pulled me aside one day and said, "Aziz, you're not just carrying your weight, you're carrying this department." They gave me a raise, then another, then a promotion. By 2023, I was making more money than I ever thought possible. Enough to pay off debts, stack my savings, and finally start thinking about investments. The irony wasn't lost on me. While my ex was back home living with her parents, probably working a mediocre job, I was thriving. She thought she'd destroyed me, but all she did was fuel me. People kept asking me when I was going to date again. At first, I wasn't interested. My trust was shattered. Every time I saw a woman glance at her phone, my mind went straight to, "She's texting another guy." But after a while, therapy helped me realize that not every woman is my ex. Not everyone is a liar. Not everyone is waiting to betray me. So I dipped my toe into the dating pool, slowly. Coffee dates, lunch dates, casual conversations. Nothing serious at first. Some dates were awkward. Some were fine but fizzled out, and one actually surprised me. Her name was Layla. She wasn't from my country, but she was also an immigrant, and she understood the grind. We met through a mutual friend at a networking event, and what started as small talk turned into long walks, deep conversations, and eventually something more. With Layla, I didn't feel like I was competing for attention. She respected my time, encouraged my work, and most importantly, she was honest. No secrets, no games. For the first time since my marriage, I felt peace with a woman. Now, here's the part you probably want to hear. What happened to my ex after she got deported? Word travels fast in our community. Even though I wasn't in touch with her, mutual friends, family connections, and social media painted a picture, and it wasn't a good one. First off, she couldn't get a decent job. With her criminal record from the U.S. deportation, employers back home didn't want to touch her. She went from working in a tech office here to bouncing between part-time gigs there. Second, her reputation was ruined. People back home gossiped, and when they heard she was deported after an affair and assault case, she became the black sheep of her family. Nobody wanted to marry her. Nobody respected her. Even her own relatives distanced themselves. I heard at one point she tried to reconnect with Daniel, the affair partner, but that blew up in her face too. His life was already in shambles, and he wanted nothing to do with her. So there she was, stuck in our home country, living with her parents in her 30s, bitter and broke. Meanwhile, I was building wealth, traveling and moving forward. Karma, man, it never misses. Looking back, I can honestly say I'm grateful. Not for the pain, but for the lessons. Trust your gut. If you feel something's off, it usually is. Protect yourself legally. Documentation saved me. Cameras saved me. Evidence saved me. Don't confront, act. Serving divorce papers at her job was the best move I ever made. Healing takes time. Therapy, rebuilding, dating again. It all took patience. Karma is real. Maybe not instantly, but it always comes back around. As I write this, I'm sitting in my remodeled living room, sipping coffee, listening to music again. My leg is healed, my spirit is stronger, and my future is bright. I've started traveling more. I've been to 3 countries in the last year, and I plan to see even more. Work is booming, and I'm mentoring younger engineers now. Layla and I are taking things slow but steady. She knows my past, and she respects the walls I've had to build. And as for my ex, well, the last I heard, she was still back home, still angry, still blaming everyone but herself. But that's not my problem anymore. I told you about Layla. She was different from my ex in every way that mattered. Where my ex-wife craved attention from anyone and everyone, Layla valued privacy. Where my ex thrived in chaos, Layla thrived in peace. Where my ex treated marriage like a stage play, Layla treated it like a partnership. We met through a mutual friend at a networking event. At first, I wasn't even planning on going. I was tired from work, worn out, and still a little cautious about socializing. But my buddy dragged me out, saying I needed to get out of my own head. He wasn't wrong. That night, I ended up standing near the snack table, balancing a plate of hummus and pita when Layla came over. She had this calm presence, confident but not flashy. We started talking about cloud technology of all things, and ended up in a 45-minute conversation while everyone else was mingling. The next week, she texted me. Then we met for coffee, then dinner, and before I knew it, months had passed and I realized this was what healthy felt like. Dating Layla has shown me just how toxic my marriage really was. With my ex, I always felt like I was walking on eggshells. If I worked late, she accused me of not loving her. If I didn't respond to a text fast enough, she claimed I was hiding something. If I tried to bring up concerns, she flipped it on me. It was a constant cycle of manipulation. With Layla, it's the opposite. She encourages me to work hard, but also reminds me to rest. If I'm late responding, she assumes I'm busy, not lying. If I share something that's bothering me, she listens. It feels easy, and that's something I never thought I'd have. Now, let me be real about something. In our culture, divorce still carries a stigma. People whisper, they gossip, they act like if a marriage fails, it's automatically the man's fault or that you weren't man enough to keep your wife. When my ex was deported, the gossip spread like wildfire back home. Some people pitied her, some blamed me. But as time went on, the truth came out. People saw the evidence, the court records, the videos. Slowly, the narrative shifted. Even my own extended family, who at first wondered if I was being too harsh, came to me privately and said, "You did the right thing, Aziz. She brought this on herself." That validation mattered more than I expected, because even though I knew I was right, it felt good to have my community acknowledge it too. One of the hardest things about betrayal is how it strips your identity. When I was married to her, I was Aziz, her husband. Everything revolved around her job, her needs, her moods. After the divorce, I had to rediscover who Aziz was on his own. What did I like to do? What made me happy? What kind of man did I want to be? I got back into old hobbies, photography, running, even cooking. Funny enough, I hadn't cooked seriously in years because my ex hated my cooking. Layla, on the other hand, loves it. Now I experiment with recipes every week, and it feels like I've reclaimed a part of myself. Another big thing I did after rebuilding was travel. For years, my ex had complained about not going places, but she also sabotaged every attempt I made to plan a trip. "It's too expensive," she'd say, or "What if work needs me?" But then I'd later find out she'd be going on work trips with her affair partner. So when I was finally free, I bought my first real vacation ticket. Destination, Spain. It was life-changing. The food, the culture, the architecture. It reminded me why I worked so hard in the first place. After that, I promised myself I'd take at least one big trip every year. So far, I've done Spain, Italy, Turkey, and Japan. Each trip, I learned something new about the world and about myself. Career-wise, things kept climbing. By 2024, I wasn't just one of two cloud architects. I was leading an entire team. I started mentoring younger engineers, teaching them not just about tech, but about life balance, resilience, and self-worth. I never thought I'd be in that position, but I realized that surviving what I went through gave me a perspective not everyone has. My mentees don't just get technical advice, they get real life advice about boundaries, respect, and relationships. Sometimes I think, if one of these guys learns from my mistakes and avoids what I went through, then my pain wasn't for nothing. And now, the part you probably want to hear, what's happening with my ex? For a long time, I stopped asking. I didn't care. I was focused on me. But in early 2025, a cousin back home sent me a message. "Aziz, you won't believe what happened to her. Apparently, after years of struggling, she tried to marry again, but her reputation made it nearly impossible. Every potential husband's family dug into her past, and when they found out she'd been deported for assaulting her husband, they backed off. She finally did find someone, a guy much older than her, divorced, not very stable, but even that ended badly. From what I heard, they were married less than a year before he left her too, citing her temper and unpredictable behavior. The final kicker, she's now living alone in a small rented apartment, working a job that barely pays enough to cover her bills. No husband, no kids, no respect in the community, just bitterness. When I heard that, I didn't feel joy. I didn't feel pity. I felt nothing. And that's when I realized I was finally free. One thing people ask me is, have you forgiven her? The answer is complicated. I don't forgive what she did. I don't excuse it, but I also don't carry the anger anymore. Forgiveness for me doesn't mean saying it was okay. It means saying it no longer controls me. She can live her life however she wants now. She can stew in anger or she can try to change. That's not my problem anymore. As for me, the future looks bright. Layla and I have talked about marriage. We're not rushing it, but it's on the table. The idea of being married again used to terrify me, but with her, it feels different. She's proven her loyalty, her honesty, her respect. We've even talked about starting a family someday. I never thought I'd want that again after what happened, but now, maybe. I'm also considering starting my own consulting firm. With the experience I've gained, I know I could build something successful. It feels good to dream again. I'm not the man I was when I met her in that Walmart aisle in 2018. I'm stronger, wiser, more grounded, and most importantly, I'm free. To anyone listening who's going through something similar, hear me when I say it gets better. Not overnight, not easily, but it does. You can rebuild, you can find peace, and you can come out stronger than ever. Thanks again for giving me the space to share this journey. Writing it all out has been a gift in itself, Aziz.